Hey everyone, it's me Lone. I hope you're having a great day. Today, Xbox and Bethesda held their very first developer direct where they showcase a ton of new content and gameplay for some of their upcoming games. And in today's video, I want to provide my overall thoughts on the developer direct, talk about the concept and the format of the show, what I liked, what I didn't like, etc. And then we'll deep dive into all the games that formed part of the show. So Minecraft Legends, Redfall, Elder Scrolls Online, Necrom, a little bit anyways, Forza Motorsport, and the big surprise of the show, HiFi Rush, which actually released today. Still insane, still trying to process that. So if you enjoyed this video, all I ask is if you could please join my Discord. The link is in the description below and also in the pinned comment. We've just passed 900 members on the Discord and getting very close to getting partnered. So I hope to see you there to talk about all things Xbox and Bethesda. So first of all, let's talk about the format of the show. Did I like the developer direct as a whole and the concept of it? Yes, I really did. I even tweeted out after the event that if they hold these developer directs, let's say, every few months, maybe every quarter, even if a couple times a year, and they spend the time building the brand of developer directs, just like Nintendo has done with their Nintendo directs, then I really think Xbox has something special on their hands. I love this show because it had a small number of games. It initially, of course, was meant to be 4 games, but then it was 5 games with the surprise of HiFi Rush. It had a smaller number of games that allowed a nice deep dive into all of them, right? The length was about 40 minutes as well. I thought that was just perfect. And the production value was just insane. You could tell they put a lot of care into this with the cameras used, the lighting used. They made sure everyone was nicely scripted. It showcased a ton of talent, a ton of people behind, in the developers themselves. So that was nice. And there wasn't any hosts. And all of it was scripted, and probably a lot of the bloopers were ripped out of the recordings before it all went live and was edited together. I thought that was perfect. And then, of course, we got a ton of release dates for these games, aside from just one. But for most of the games, we got release dates. So that was nice to see. And it just gave every one of these games as part of the show the time and the opportunity to shine. I've said this in the past where, shows like E3 and other big events like that, they're great, don't get me wrong, but so much is revealed, so much is announced that it's hard to remember some of the games that were announced, and each individual title doesn't have the opportunity to shine and get the spotlight. In this show, every game got its moment. Even Elder Scrolls Online Necrom, which I think had the least part of the show, they had their own event afterwards that the developer direct pushed everyone towards. So it had its opportunity to shine, so did everything else. I really like the show. I hope Xbox don't ditch the branding and they keep pushing it. Even for when they do the Starfield event, I hope they call that developer direct. Like, I know Todd's probably going to want to have his own thing for Starfield, and they'll call it maybe Starfield Direct or something like that, but I hope they stick with the branding because it's important for them to build it just like Nintendo Directs. So first of all, let's talk about Minecraft Legends. Minecraft Legends is going to be releasing on the 18th of April this year, and they provided a big focus on the PvP multiplayer experience today, but of course the game is co-op too, with its own story-driven campaign. Honestly, this game looked cooler than I thought it would. Now, I'll be honest, am I still going to play it or throw a ton of time into this game? Probably not. I used to love Minecraft. I still love Minecraft, but I haven't played it in many years. So it's just not for me, but it's clearly for existing fans of Minecraft, especially for those who want a bit more action and a bit more strategy out of their games nowadays. And also want a bit more storytelling out of the IP too, because this game, as I said, is going to have a story-driven campaign. So it's going to be interesting to see what more storytelling they can do out of Minecraft. I know you already have Minecraft story mode and expansions and other titles like that, but still, having another game with more opportunities to tell stories out of the Minecraft universe, I think fans are going to love that, right? And they announced a few little nice things here and there. The game's going to have crossplay. It's going to have online matchmaking for the PvP element, which is nice. And the goal of the PvP really is to just destroy your enemy base. Lots of strategy involved. You share your army and resources with your team, so you really do need to cooperate and work as a team to be successful when it comes to building, collecting, resourcing, attacking, defending, etc., etc. The worlds are procedurally generated as well, just like Minecraft. So every time you play, the maps are different. That is very cool. I think that is a perfect use case for procedural generation. So I love that they've done that. You can explore as well during these sessions. So you can search the world to find resources, scout, find mobs to even ride into battle, etc. You can build defenses, upgrade your base, traps, etc. And because you're playing with a team, people can have different roles. So some people can build the base, others can go attack, others can go find resources and explore, etc., etc. So it seems like a decent game with a nice bit of depth to it, you know? You need to have a game plan, you need to work together, you need to strategize. To be honest, like, you know, this game, not for me, as I said, but it looks cool. It looks cooler than I thought. And I think Minecraft fans are gonna love it. So let's move on to Forza Motorsport. This is the one title that we didn't get a release date for. It just said coming 2023. So let's talk about this for a second. That was a big shock to me. I thought literally every game as part of the show was gonna get a release date. And if Forza Motorsport is not getting a release date, is it still releasing the first half of this year? It's doubtful. And then where does Starfield fit into this? I have no idea. Anyways, but in terms of the actual gameplay, I encourage you, re-watch the Forza Motorsport section in particular in 4K. It honestly looks great. There's everything that we get with a new Forza game. There's a ton more cars, over 500 cars, a bunch more customization options, over 800 options, lots of modern race cars as well. That's clearly the focus of this Forza game. But the visuals are always the standout with Forza, but it looked amazing. The physics model looked great. The shaders and the ray tracing looked gorgeous. The way that the paint on the freaking cars reflected light, and it actually changes depending upon the type of paint that you have. Really realistic, looked amazing. The car damage was a big focal point of the showcase as well. That looked solid. They spent a bit of time talking about the sound of the game. They're spending a lot of time, you know, changing car parts will actually change how your car sounds. That's awesome. They're going to have support for Windows Sonic and also Dolby Atmos as well. And then the environment, they spent a bunch of time talking about the environment. There's going to be 20 environments in the game, built from the ground up. Really, really cool. They threw the line in there that there was 10 times more detail in the environments and in the tracks. That's sounding a lot like Todd, 16 times more detail, like Fallout 76. I don't know what that means. What does 10 times more detail mean? I don't know. Just a buzzword, just a phrase to throw in there. But it did look great. It even had fully dynamic time of day with weather for the first time ever in a Forza game. Dynamic track temperatures too. From what I could gather, as you're like literally in a particular race and as you go by the tracks, the weather changes and that might actually affect how your car performs. I think we need a bit more information about that, but that sounded cool. And the game's going to be presented in 4K, 60 frames per second, presumably, of course, on PC, but on Xbox Series X. They didn't really talk about what it's going to be on their Series S, but hopefully it's still smooth and it still has a lot of high fidelity. So overall, it's a Forza game. They always look great. I've said before that people need to have more respect for Forza. Yes, it's a racing game, but they're still incredibly hard games to develop for. They're clearly putting the time into this. And we'll see what happens when the full game is eventually released. When that is, I have no idea. But all things look positive for Forza Motorsport to be an incredible new title in the franchise. So let's talk about HiFi Rush. HiFi Rush was clearly the big surprise of the show. Now, full transparency. As I was streaming this thing, it teased at the start. They was like, oh no, there's actually 5 games, and even Tango Gameworks' little cursor kept popping up. So that was the first hint that there was going to be a 5th game from Tango Gameworks. When they first showed the screen where there was like all the titles there, all the tiles for the games, and it had Tango Gameworks redacted, I knew exactly what it was. For those of you that don't know, I used to work at Bethesda. I knew this was going to be HiFi Rush just from the moment I saw the little blurred image there. And I think there were some leaks, at least a day before or something, that HiFi Rush might have been shown at this show. So I can't sit here and say, oh, I was so surprised about the gameplay. I knew about the game. But I will say, I was surprised it was shown because we didn't know it was going to be shown. And I was most surprised that they freaking released it today. That is actually insane. I was very surprised by that. I'm so excited to see the game finally out into the world because I always thought the concept being a rhythm action game was just really unique, really cool. So I'll go into it a little bit more. So essentially the moves that you take in the game act as like a living soundtrack. Your attacks and combat like sync up with the beat, and attacking on the beat lets you land attacks and hits with high damage. So they've actually incorporated that into the combat of the game in a meaningful way. It's not just like the music element. It's actually, no, if you can be on beat, if you have a little beat to you, you can actually deal more damage to the enemy. So I think that's really cool. There's actually strategy with the music, and it's not just about mashing buttons. You get rewarded for staying on beat and for staying in rhythm. The visual style is clearly one of the standouts as well. It's like part comic book, part anime, cell shading, etc. Really colorful. The world looks great. So, and I don't actually feel like the characters and the dialogue looked cringy. I saw some people complaining about it, like, oh, this is like, it's kind of cringeworthy. I thought the balance was just right. I thought it was cute how each of the characters' names was named after, like, it was Chai for the main character, there was Peppermint and Macaron. I thought that was a nice touch. But the dialogue, it looks fun. It just looks like a fun game, you know what I mean? And even the other characters can help you in combat. They expand your movesets. So Peppermint was the one that had barriers. Macaron was the one that could smash armor for you. He's essentially the brute in the game. And that allows for different combos. So it's nice that there are different characters that can help you in the combat. And it's not just about fighting too. There's a lot of puzzle solving, a lot of platforming in the game too, in between the combat before you take down your bosses. So that's a really nice touch as well, just to be able to explore the world and experience those different puzzles. You can fight through different levels, and each of them have their own spin on the rock genre, and they each have their own boss as well, so that's cool. The boss battles are like the climactic set pieces they talked about with fights. Some of them have mini games, some of them have chase sequences as well. As I said, the game just looks like a lot of fun. They've got some great licensed rock music too, with like Nine Inch Nails, the Black Eyes, the Prodigy, etc. And they even have a mode where if you want to stream the game as a streamer, where you can turn off all that licensed music and just play regular music that you won't get copyright stricken for. Great touch. That was absolutely perfect. Something that I was always hoping that they would do, and they ended up doing it. Awesome. This was a really, really nice surprise. Even though I knew what the game was when I saw it, I didn't know it was going to be at the show. I didn't know they were going to release it the same day. And the reviews are really positive. I think on Steam right now, it has like 100% positive rating. So people actually like the game, and everyone was super positive about it. I think everyone not only just liked the style of the game, the concept, the visual look, etc., but they liked how it came out of nowhere and was just announced and thrown at us. It doesn't happen too often in the games industry, especially because secrets are so freaking hard to keep. There's always leaks seemingly all the time now, more and more, especially with Xbox and Bethesda. But this was one that they were pretty much almost able to keep the lid on, especially when it came to the same day release date. So awesome work, Bethesda. Awesome work, Tango Gameworks. Really cool to see something especially different from Tango Gameworks. We always see a lot of horror with them when it comes to the Evil Within, etc. So the fact that they're trying something different, I love it. So great work on that. I can't wait to play it when I get back from my little staycation this weekend. So let's move on to the Elder Scrolls Online Necrom. Not going to spend too much on this, by the way, because I'm not an ESO expert. It is releasing on June 5. They did have their full chapter reveal after the event as well, which I didn't watch. But I will always say this. Elder Scrolls Online is one of the great MMOs out there, like, period. No one can debate that. It's won best MMO many years, sometimes many years in a row. This game deserves a lot of respect. I have so much respect for ZeniMax Online Studios and what they've done with Elder Scrolls Online. This game has so much content, like the craziest amount of content. Fallout 76 fans would die for this level of content, right? Every year, chapter reveal, different beats throughout. There's so much stuff to do. And even as part of this, they were like, we're going to make... The game's obviously on Game Pass, but they're going to make all the past DLCs and all the past chapter expansions free for a little bit. So if you are new to ESO and you want to jump into it, now is literally the perfect time to do so. And the new chapter does look cool. There's a new playable class. There's obviously Hermaeus Moro returning, the Daedric Prince. Nice, cool little concept. It is very hard to obviously top what they did with Skyrim and Morrowind, Oblivion, etc. But I still think it looks cool. I honestly encourage you to give Elder Scrolls Online Necrom a chance, especially if you do like MMOs. But let's talk about now, finally, Redfall. Redfall was what I was personally most excited about. It ended the show. It got most time dedicated to it in the show. We got a massive deep dive into Redfall. The game, as it was previously leaked, is definitely coming out on the 2nd of May. So where that leaves Starfield, who the hell knows? Starfield's either March or it's after June at least. But let's talk about Redfall. They said this is the biggest and most ambitious game that Arcane have ever created. And this is the studio behind Deathloop, Dishonored, and Prey. So I have so much confidence in them. I've been not even quietly confident. I I have a lot of respect for Arcane Studios as well. I think they are masters of their craft, and if there's anyone that can pull off this game and this kind of concept, is them. So I hope that everyone does give Redfall a chance. I know that it was floundering a little bit in terms of the marketing department, but we saw a lot of cool stuff here. So we just got, first of all, a top-down description of what the hell the game is. They needed to do this, and I'm glad that they started it off with this. They said it's a story-driven shooter. It's a single-player game or a co-op game with friends up to 4 people. There are 4 heroes that you can play as, each with their own unique abilities, and you team up to kill vampires and take back Redfall. That's the concept of the game. That is all they needed to say, and now we know what it's about. So let's talk about the different things that they showcased. The world of Redfall, it's a detailed open world that confirmed that it's Arcane's largest setting ever, and there is loads of environmental storytelling. You could see that, tons of blood written on the walls, felt like Bioshock. Loads of environmental storytelling, and I think Arcane's going to do it justice. So not only is this game like a fun co-op game which you can play with friends, but if you just want to explore and enjoy some of the lore of Redfall and the environmental storytelling, you'll be able to do that as well. So I think that's going to be my favorite part about Redfall, is actually not playing with people and just exploring and killing vampires in my own time. So that's really cool. They focus on exploration and all the different landmarks in the game. There are safe places where you can rest, resupply, receive missions from survivors. And they went through some of the enemies as well. There are different vampire types like the Shroud, which blankets areas in darkness. They throw projectiles at you. They can even sink through the floor to avoid damage and attack you. There are the Rook vampires, which are very powerful. They're sent by the vampire gods. Yes, there are vampire gods in this game that can attack you during main story missions. Speaking of the main story missions, they had this one mission about a lighthouse. You had to turn the lighthouse on to keep people away from Redfall. That didn't quite make sense to me. I didn't need to watch that again as to why we were turning the lighthouse on. But you had to kill the lighthouse keeper who had sided with the cultists. The vampires can attack you out of nowhere as you're doing that mission. Kind of stealth gameplay incorporated into that, at least that mission specifically anyways. There's a cloak ability with one of the characters that allow you just to sneak past one of the vampires. That was a nice touch. But when you take down vampires, you do piss off, or at least have the chance of pissing off the vampire gods. And they can summon that Rook vampire that I mentioned before to try and kill you. And that looks like a super intense fight. So I'm very excited to fight some Rooks in the game. And then they went through a bunch of side missions. There seems to be a load of encounters that can pop up anywhere, a load of different side missions in addition, of course, to the main quest. There was a brewery that was, fallen under cultist control. You needed to save the locals. You can approach the missions in different ways. So again, there was stealth gameplay. You can go in guns blazing. Locations have different environments as well that you can interact with in terms of combat. So there was oil on the floor and gas canisters that you could explode, etc. So I like that. There's also otherworldly psychic spaces that you can use to unravel the vampire secret. So they were talking about how there are nests or lairs for the vampires, which change every time you step inside. And to destroy the nest, you need to destroy the heart and all the vampires defending it. And then at the end, this actually looked like a lot of fun. When you destroy the heart, the nest actually crashes down and you need to escape in time while also looting. They had a big emphasis on that. As they were running away, they were trying to keep looting along the way. And it seems like maybe you can get some really nice rare loot and some powerful weapons after you kill one of these lairs, but you've got to make sure you be quick about it when you're escaping. So I really like that. For me, that was one of the standouts. And they just talk generally about how you need to take back Redfall neighborhood by neighborhood. There are different safe houses to reclaim these neighborhoods. You need to kill the underboss vampire controlling the area at the end. They have their own unique abilities like shields, etc. And when you kill them, you get this skull which acts as a key to eventually face the vampire gods. And those are the big boss battles in the game. So very cool. They also went into the different heroes. Each hero essentially plays a different role. So Jacob is like the scout, the sniper. He sends out his Raven to tag enemies. Dev can send out a teleporter, which you can use to teleport to get close to enemies and get the jump on them. Layla has her lift ability, and all the different heroes, you can upgrade their abilities, which change how they play. So speaking about Layla's lift ability, you can use that instead when it's upgraded to lift your teammates for aerial attacks. She has this umbrella ability, which is like a shield that can absorb bullets and eventually shoot that back to the enemies themselves. And the heroes have trees, which you can customize really nicely. Hopefully you can respec as well. I think we need a bit more information about the different character trees and what kind of skills, upgrades, and abilities there are, but that seemed nice. There was a bit of depth to that. And let's talk about the guns, because to me, the guns was probably one of the standouts. There seems to be a huge variety of guns in this game. Looting is clearly a big aspect of it, which I really like. I guess kind of like Borderlands maybe, but I don't know whether they're going to have all these crazy different customizations in terms of the weapons, but there seems to be a nice array of weapons. So military gear, new vampire slaying guns as well, and inventions. So you had shotguns, regular automatic weapons, silenced pistols, Gauss weaponry, guns that shoot out laser beams, sniper rifles, etc. Easily one of the standouts. The designs of the guns, the skins looked sick. Even those little vampire stakes that you could attach to the end of your guns that you can find in the world. I thought the gun customization looked awesome. I cannot wait just to loot in that game, to explore, to kill vampires. Honestly, I think Redfall is going to be a quiet hit. Hopefully it's not quiet. Hopefully it is a massive hit. I think Arcane has clearly taken their time with this game. They delayed it. They're trying to get it right. I think the concept is great. It's just, for me, going to be a fun game. If you want to play with your friends or just explore on your own, I think Redfall is going to be good. That is my bet. We'll see what happens when the game comes out on the 2nd of May. But ladies and gentlemen, that was my video. I did that all in one take. Don't know if you noticed I need some water. I'm gonna drink some water at the end of this video. Hold on. Oh my God, I needed that. All right. Tell me what you thought in the comments below. This has been the Lobot Wanderer. Please take care of yourselves, and would you kindly keep fighting the good fight.